Hi, this is Katie Sweetman. I am an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And we get together every week through Facebook and through also YouTube and IGTV and now Spotify to talk about what's going on with the astrology this week. I have a little bit of a late start today. Normally we do this at 6 p.m. sharp Eastern. But if you've been following some of my work lately, you may know that I've been doing these daily meditations at 5:30. They're about a half an hour. Sometimes they run a little longer. Yeah, meditation is something that's a very important part of my life, my own sort of energetic practice. How do I work on myself? How do I clean my energy? How do I kind of get back into the truth of who I am? There's so much going on in the world right now, and we really need the things that are going to anchor us into who we are, anchor us in the truth of who we are, sort of clear out the things that are noise and things that sort of take us away from ourselves. And, when all everything started to happen with the virus, and, for those who were maybe listening to previous Facebook Lives, like I was in Spain up until the 1st of March. Like I just got out of Spain in time, and like, yes, I'm fine. And I was a little sick in March. It's one of those things where it's like a big question mark. Like, was that the virus or not? Was it a mild version? But I think that this time, and I really do hope each and every one of you are safe right now. And I'm kind of looking as the comments come through, hello from Australia, hello from the UK. I love hearing from you all. I love especially those who are around the world, because I've got a Sagittarius in my chart. I'm not a Sag, I'm a Scorpio, but I love to travel. And I've been in my apartment for the better part of 6 weeks. So this is not what I'm used to. I'm used to being able to go out and explore and go to different countries. So I'm living vicariously through you all. But yes, I'm really, I hope that you all are safe right now and that you're home and you're with your loved ones. And I know that that's, not everybody has the privilege to kind of just shelter in place at the moment. So, but for those who do have this opportunity, I really hope that some beautiful things are happening. I've had some really wonderful conversations with clients over the past days, weeks, these things that have been coming up for them and how this might be a time of very powerful breakthrough. So this is what I hope for all of you. Again, I know it's a difficult time for many and not able to have the luxury I know some of my clients are also, parents, and they have to do their full-time jobs and parent at the same time. It's just me here in my apartment. I'm baking bread. I'm learning how to bake bread, but I'm also getting a chance to connect to you all about the astrology. So let's talk about this week's astrology. When we had last week, we had a new moon last week. So new moons tell us that we're in a new time, and this new moon was in Taurus. And if you go back and you listen to my update last week, I went around the zodiac and I told you what this new moon was going to mean for you. So we're still sort of in those new moon energies. Yes, it's a week later. So this week we're coming up to what's called the first quarter square. So the moon will sort of get to Leo later this week, and we'll sort of see what this new lunar month was all about. Usually that kind of happens with the first opening square, the first quarter moon. This is a very interesting lunar month. On one hand, it's about Taurus, and I have a particular fondness for Taurus. I'm not playing favorites, but I really like Taurus. Is about food and baking and pleasure and having the good life. And, as somebody who likes to bake, I love that Tauruses are always kind of like, they know the best restaurants. And if you're a Taurus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the best restaurants, you know where to go, you got your snacks. But anyway, the Taurus is about material life. Excuse me. It's about, here in the Northeast of the United States, the flowers are in bloom. The tulips are out. Yes, I checked. I had to run to the store today. The trees are blooming. So Taurus season is about the fertility and the renewal of life. And so it's a sign that's about like the natural world sort of in bloom, and it's about resources and money and material stability. Hopefully that's something that you all are having a time to connect to right now. I know that's a little bit of a difficult time, but this is a different Taurus season because this new moon was what's called conjunct Uranus. And Uranus is sort of the opposite of everything that I just talked about, in a way, sort of. Uranus is the energy of awakening. It means that if we do Taurus season, it has to be like totally different than what we used to do in previous Taurus seasons. The idea that Uranus is about awakenings and new consciousness, and it's like we can't just eat or graze or enjoy life the way that we used to. We now need to have a new awareness about it, a new sort of look upon it. It's like we're baking right now or cooking, but we're obviously right now doing that under very different circumstances. So it's, Uranus really wants us to, for instance, be aware of where our food comes from. What went into, getting flour or making something. It's different than it was last year. Uranus and Taurus, Uranus went into Taurus for the first time since the 1930s, just this past March of 2019. So we're sort of like, we haven't had this time for quite some time. But I guess we can take Uranus's invitation at this time and just do Taurus differently. If we've been sort of not really thinking about our material needs or, what stability means in our lives, and, hopefully nothing's shaking up too much for you right now, but if you have the luxury to do it very intentionally, not unconsciously, not from instinct. So if you go outside, if you're able to do that, you're really taking in the natural world. You're having a new appreciation for it, its life cycles, its fertility. You're tasting fruit, or you're tasting your favorite foods because, what are you going to do right now? And it tastes differently. It tastes sweeter, or it nourishes you in a different way. Uranus was always about having a different relationship with money and value right now, and we're seeing that in different ways. So this new moon, it's going to play out, last week's new moon, it's going to play out. It's going to go to the Scorpio full moon, which I believe is on the 13th, 12th, or the 11th. I probably should look that up. The Scorpio full moon is on the 7th of May. So we're gonna have this full moon in Scorpio, and we're gonna sort of get this, see a lot of what this Taurus new moon, this Taurus lunar month was about. But that story of awakenings and transformations and shakeups, it's gonna play out until the Gemini new moon at the end of May. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. I always like to remind people that astrology is just, it's like a wheel of life. It helps us to get back in touch with sort of the natural flow and the natural order of things. Astrology teaches us there's a time for action, there's a time for rest, there's a time for planting, there's a time for harvest, there's a time for play, and there's time for work. And so we just naturally align ourselves with these different zodiac signs, but then we get the intricacies of these seasons based on where the planets are at any given moment. This week, and today, as we speak, Mercury goes into Taurus. Now, Mercury, it spent a long time in Pisces because of retrograde, February, and then into March, and then it went into Aries, like I think it was the April 11th, and that was like finally, some new energy after being in Pisces for a while. So it went through Aries very quickly, Mercury in Aries is very different than Mercury in Taurus. Mercury in Taurus, Taurus is generally a sign that likes to slow down and to enjoy. That's not to say Taurus is slow. It's just about savoring. It's about taking things in. It's about preserving life. It's not about shaking things up, even though, ironically, we've got Uranus in Taurus right now, so it's a little bit different. So Mercury is slowing down. Mercury is sort of weighing its options. When it was in Aries, it was a lot more impulsive. It was like quick. It like made decisions. It, kind of moved quickly. For instance, I was part of this awakening summit. There was 12 astrologers, and I was one of them. And it happened within the course of a week. And I know, it was like, hey, sign up for this. You can watch me for free. And then some people were like, oh, I didn't know about this. Well, because the summit literally came together within like a little less than 2 weeks. So this was like Mercury and Aries, like quick, take action, move forward. But now Mercury is in Taurus. So we need to maybe not act as quickly. We need to weigh our options. We need to really examine the value of our choices, examine the value of our words. Mercury now in Taurus is making what's called a square to Saturn tomorrow. So as we go into tomorrow, Tuesday, April 28th, we need to be very serious about our decisions, very serious about our actions. Saturn kind of says to each and every one of us, like, we can't sort of get out of line. So we can't make decisions that are impulsively. We can't make decisions that aren't in harmony or in balance, because that's where Saturn sort of does its thing and says no. So you might be hearing some no's tomorrow, or you've been doing Saturn proud and taking responsibility and creating balance and taking things seriously. And then Saturn's like, yes, maybe with some caveats. But, tomorrow is about commitment. Tuesday, April 28th, is about commitments and sort of, saying yes to the things that you should be saying yes to, and maybe no to the things that you shouldn't be saying yes to. I will, side note, we're in Taurus season, but Venus is in Gemini, and Venus is what's called the ruling planet of Taurus. And Venus will be in Gemini until the end of May. No, the end of June, because we have a retrograde in May. So this is a Taurus season that also has a little bit of a Gemini feel to it. And Venus in Gemini is very playful. It's very social. It loves to try things. It loves to schmooze. It loves to chat. It loves to play. There is an element of playfulness to this Taurus season. So it's kind of interesting of like we're having to live the astrology through the prism of quarantine or being, separate from the world. With Mercury, because Mercury rules Gemini, we're kind of pointing us back to Taurus, see what is coming up for you tomorrow. This kind of there's a playfulness energy in the air, but like, how do we sort of set some boundaries and say no to things, or, maybe kind of get serious about what we're saying. Moving on, Mercury, now that it's in Taurus, will meet up with Uranus. So we do have what's called a conjunction to Uranus. I believe it's on Friday. It's either the 1st of May or the 30th of April. And if Uranus was very conservative, or at least very, kind of not taking a lot of risks with Saturn, it's the opposite with Uranus. So later this week, especially if you're a Gemini or a Virgo, because you're what's called Mercury ruled, and this of course also includes the rising signs of Gemini and Virgo, you might feel very restless. You might feel like you want to make a big change because your planet, Mercury, is lining up in the sky with Uranus. So if you have some sort of wild impulse towards the end of this week, don't be surprised. And I've said this to a lot of people, maybe on a Facebook Live or maybe to a client. Uranus, at the end of the day, wants us to be authentic. Now, with the virus, certainly the variables have shifted greatly in just 5, 6, 7 weeks. So maybe the excuses and what we had going on back in February doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't. It's not even relevant anymore. So we might, when Mercury meets up with Uranus, we have an opportunity. Maybe there's something we've been wanting to do for a long time, but we haven't for a lot of reasons that maybe don't matter anymore or aren't even there anymore. So we might, we'll see. You might get a brainwave, you might feel restless and impulsive. I always like to think of Uranus. This is like the example I give with Uranus. If you're a lawyer, for instance, because everybody in your family going back generations is a lawyer, and then here comes Uranus energy, and Uranus is like, well, who are you really? So you might get very sort of like, oh my God, like I want to be a massage therapist. I want to be an actor. I want to be anything but this because it's not the real me. So I think that in that example, really think about that this week. It's like, where are we not being our real you? I'm just checking on the comments. I see that Judy, there's a baby born this morning. Special messages. So somebody is born, I mean, they're born with the energy of Uranus. Like if a baby is born right now, they're a Taurus, but they're not your run-of-the-mill Taurus. And yes, it'll take a little bit of time to figure that out as they grow up, but means that they are born with this energy of Uranus and Taurus. So they've got to do things differently. They might, Taurus is agriculture, Taurus is money. They might have a very different relationship with food and agriculture and money. Uranus is also innovative. So they might be kind of channeling or downloading new ideas. I mean, when they become adults, we will see. So they're probably going to be a little different than your normal run-of-the-mill Tauruses. Uranus can sometimes make us feel a little detached, like we're not quite embodied. So there's a little bit of a risk of where they don't quite feel like they're in themselves for whatever reason. That said, kind of going back to the astrology for everybody, one of these interesting things that I've been seeing going on with Uranus and Taurus is that it's really helping us get back into our body. So if you had like a relationship or like a kind of a disconnect with your body, the Uranus and Taurus is giving you an opportunity to get back into your body, maybe to take it more slowly, maybe to eat different foods that your body wants as opposed to what we're normally used to eating. So maybe there's some dietary changes. Maybe we're kind of getting used to the energy of touch. By the way, I invoked Uranus. There's like some sort of like loud commotion happening on the streets of Brooklyn at the moment. There's a lot of cheering and banging of pots and pans and car horns. So I don't know what's going on right now. It's not at 7 p.m. Local time, they do these like cheering from the windows, but it's a little early. So anyway, if you're hearing any strange noises, it's because I invoked Uranus. So anyway, really, maybe this unexpected energy is going to be with us this week. There's a couple of things I wanted to put on our radar that's a little bit down the road, but we're going to be there real soon. So one of the things, and I think I mentioned this in my update today, is that the nodes are changing on May 6th. If you know anything about astrology, the lunar nodes, they are always moving through two signs, always opposite from each other. There's the north node and there's the south node. And the north node has been in Cancer for the last 18 months. And what is Cancer? It's home, it's family, it's food, it's safety, stability, security. The north node is what we need right now. It's where it's pointing, or we're collectively being pointed towards. And what are we all doing? We're in our homes right now. We're baking, we're cooking, if we have that luxury, of course. And the South Node's been in Capricorn. So the South Node is where we have to do work. We have to figure out something from the past. Karma is a little bit, there's like tends to be some difficulties in that area. And so Capricorn's been this area where that part of our chart has maybe kind of been a bit denser and heavier, and maybe we've had to work harder. Well, come the 6th of May, the nodes are going to switch. And the North Node's going to go into Gemini, and the South Node's going to go into Sagittarius. So that means that over the coming 18 months, our collective destiny, where we need to move towards, is not home, Cancer, it's now the neighborhood, Gemini. It's travel, it's movements. My hope is that this kind of bigger story that we're all working through in the different parts of the world that we're in, that there's some more movement, there's some more travel as the nodes start to shift. The South Node is going to be in Sagittarius. It might mean that foreign travel is not something that we can all readily do. South Node, Sagittarius, foreign travel. But it also means that learning and classes and curiosity and new ideas are really where we all need to be headed towards over the next 18 months. So there's a little bit of a time shift that's coming up for us to put on our radars. This does mean, if you know your astrology, that we're going to have an eclipse. The eclipses are going to start to go into Gemini and Sagittarius. So if you are those two signs, your life is, you're in the hot seat the next couple of years. It just means your life, so the wheel of life is taking you in a new direction. Then it also means that we're going to have an eclipse. We are, I guess, we're 2 months away or a month and a half away from the eclipses. I guess a month away from the eclipses. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Like, I've been in quarantine for 6 weeks. But there's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius on June 5th. And it's the first one in a series that will play out until 2022, I believe. But this means that it's the beginning of a story. It'll be interesting to see what stories come in for us, especially if you are a Gemini or a Sagittarius. And then we're going to have 2 more eclipses. We're going to have a solar eclipse on the 21st of June in Cancer, at 0 Cancer, right on the solstice. And then we're going to have a lunar eclipse, full moon, on July 5th in Capricorn. And those last 2 eclipses, those round out a story that began in July of 2018. So we're sort of closing out one chapter over the next couple of months. We're starting a new chapter. And if you are Cancer and Capricorn, you're probably super happy about that, because it's probably not been the easiest for you since 2018. I'm just checking on the comments. I see some people are some Gemini moons. I'm a Gemini moon as well. I see some people that are different countries. Yes, thank you for checking in. Let me know you're okay. Then I'm really curious about this change of the nodes. Because I've got a moon in Gemini and I've got Sagittarius rising. But it means that your life is sort of the story of your life is going in a new direction. FYI, because nodes have these 9 to 18 year cycles, now we're zooming out. This is like big time, what I like to call big time in astrology. Look back to what was going on in your life. 2011, 2012, that was the last time, in 2013, that was the last time that the eclipses were in Gemini and Sagittarius, but it was flipped. You had the North Node in Sagittarius and you had the South Node in Gemini, and here we are 9 years later. Bonnie, she's saying so much loss for this Capricorn. It's been hard for Capricorn. Capricorn not only had Saturn in Capricorn, it had Pluto in Capricorn, it had the South Node in Capricorn, it had eclipses. That was a lot. The good news, Capricorn, is you don't have the South Node will be leaving. Hurrah! Saturn is out of Capricorn, although it will come back, but you won't have the South Node. I think the South Node can be an area where it's a little bit of a point of loss. It's a point of release. So whatever Capricorn part of your chart is, like, everybody has Capricorn somewhere, and that part of your chart has probably maybe had some difficulty or things quite didn't work out the way that you wanted them to work out. But now the South Node is going to move into Sagittarius, my rising sign, but it'll be fine. It'll be totally fine as long as I can travel. It's my only wish in life, sort of. But it's really nice to hear from you all and sort of put some things on your horizon, even though we're not quite there yet. I'm going to be doing an eclipse circle with the astrologer Christina Caudil. So you're probably going to start, I'm probably going to start talking about that eclipse circle more. We're just in the planning stages. But there's going to be some webinars and some teachings and some intentions about how to work with these upcoming eclipses. So I'm really excited. And if you follow me on YouTube, I just uploaded a discussion that I did with Christina Caudil about, I'm starting the series. It's kind of like a video vlog called Why We Need Astrology More Than Ever. And the whole, it just kind of came down as a download because I really believe at this point in time, we need astrology more than ever. There's so much stuff going on, and astrology helps us to reorient ourselves. It helps us to know which way is up and down, and it helps us to head towards what we really need to be headed towards, whether it's collectively or whether it's personally. So Christina and I had a really interesting conversation. I'm going to be putting it on Facebook. I'm going to be it's on YouTube right now. And the audio will be on Spotify. So do follow me on Spotify if you don't. So yes, thank you all for checking in with me about the astrology this week. Somebody talking about some unpleasant things since 2011. Side note, there was some really difficult astrology that sort of kicked in 2010, 2011. So that also could have been another level of it. That's more for your Cancers, your Capricorns, your Aries, and your Libra. These are the cardinal signs. They sort of went through the ringer the past few years. So that was what was really going on. But yes, but thank you all. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for letting me know you're safe. This has been a very, like I said, interesting time. And, I was doing the meditation right before this live broadcast, and it's really helpful. And if you feel that you want to be a part of this meditation, this guided 30-minute meditation, I do it every day. The information, if you go to any of the things I've posted on Facebook or on my daily postings, there's always a link on the bottom that says global or daily guided meditation. I can't remember what language I use. And you can join us and create this practice with me. So do stay safe and take care of yourselves. And we've got the North Node is in Cancer for just a couple more weeks. So we're still home. That's where we need to go because the North Node is in Cancer. So I'm looking forward to connecting you all next week. In the meantime, you can follow me on Facebook if you don't already. You can follow me on Instagram. You can sign up for my newsletter. And I'm also on Twitter. So until then, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.